Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vance.
Oh man, you are so lucky you used the W word instead of the B word.
We've got Chris.
With great power, yada yada, great responsibility.
Yep, and I'm Kia. Hi, welcome to the show. We're reading some Spider-Man stuff today. No. Well, yeah, kind of, but it's Spider-Girl from Marvel Comics 2, the sequel to Marvel Comics, it was all right. So what is Marvel Comics 2? It was like a new line that was meant to be set kind of in the future, and like Spider-Girl was going to be the book that spearheads this whole second generation, right?
It feels, this is 2 years before the Ultimate Universe, which I was looking through our records. We've never covered, by the way. But the Ultimate Universe was like a reboot of the Marvel Universe, kind of, with, younger characters back to like the standard, like Peter Parker as a teenager model. But Marvel's been chasing this dragon for forever because they obviously knew, like in 98, like continuity is a little cumbersome. The Marvel movies are feeling this too. And if we could just get back to basics, people will get back on board with the stuff they know. So let's just do something pure, simple. Let's just have a teenage Spider-Man, a teenage Spider-Girl, just like Spider-Man, going through their own problems. Very similar. Learning power comes responsibility. We'll do that. Yeah. And Spider-Man had done a few of these things, like Chapter 1 or The Lost Years and some other stuff.
I was going to say, they had just done, Pat O'Leaf, the artist on this book, had just done Untold Tales of Spider-Man, which is basically like a secret sort of between the first 24 issues of Amazing Spider-Man, which we've covered half of, where it's just like, oh, this is all year one of Spider-Man as he's like still in high school. So they were doing that. That was in 1997.
Yeah, we're 98 for this book, Spider-Girl.
Yeah, 1995 to 1997 is Untold Tales. And so, yeah, Spider-Girl is like Pat O'Leaf's next thing. So it's very much like we want to do a sort of Steve Ditko-esque high school Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
I will say, go ahead. I was even though they're chasing the same dragon essentially for what they're going for with this book of like a fresh start kind of thing, they do still approach it differently from like the Ultimate Universe and a lot of that other stuff, which was just like, let's reboot, let's start over, let's tell something from the past, let's do our own little new continuity from the beginning. Whereas this does pick up on continuity and manages to do a fresh start, even though it's set kind of so far. It's very like sort of like Spider-Man 2099 almost.
I was thinking the same thing because Spider-Man 2099 also was like 93, I want to say. And that would like seed in stuff like they'd say like, oh, when Daredevil died or when like Doctor Doom did blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, shit, that kind of ties into like the future of the Marvel universe that I do care about. So then when you get to be like, oh, Kingpin's still running around in this MC2, you're like, oh, that's interesting. I like that. So it's got like one foot in the other place while still being kind of like relatively clean. Because I don't think we said, like, it's Peter Parker and Mary Jane's daughter is Spider-Girl. And so she's, like, going through, like, the same kind of things, but in a new and unique way that I think is, like, unique to comic book storytelling that we'll get into that I really like.
And so we're reading the first arc of this book, which was issues 1 through 5. Also number 0, which was... So before this whole thing was even a thing, there was What If? Number 105, where they were like, what if Peter Parker and MJ had a daughter who had spider powers or whatever
it is? Even before that, the Clone Saga.
Oh my goodness!
This is why it's steeped in continuity, so it's not really.
I didn't know we were going this deep.
The Clone Saga.
Well, she's wearing Ben's costume.
Yeah, she is. She calls him Uncle Ben, which threw me for a second. Like, when did Ben?
Yes, and she calls Phil Urich Uncle Phil, which
like Fresh Prince.
Yeah, exactly.
But basically in the Clone Saga, Mary Jane was pregnant throughout, but then at the end, she had a baby, but the baby passed away in the story continuity.
Oh, yes.
Allegedly.
Or the Green Goblin may have stolen her. There's a lot of different things. But this, I think, was what if the baby had lived? And then, like, where would we have gone from there? Which is great. I like the what if concept of, like, let's just do something that's a big continuity thing, and then we'll just put a twist on it. So
and then... Go ahead, Chris.
I always thought it was a cool thing because, like Marvel time, especially now that it's been, 60 some years or 70 years now, from, 1961 to 2023, it's just gotten stupid. But at the time, it had been 30 years. And so they're basically like, look, if Peter Parker like had a career. He was Spider-Man, you know, when he was 15 years old. Now he's like in his 40s and has a teenage daughter. You're like, oh, well, that sort of makes sense, right?
Right.
Like this could be in the 90s if the Spider-Man stuff happened in the 60s.
Right.
Yeah.
So fun fact, completely before we get in this books, did you know they're relaunching the Ultimate Universe?
What?
Yeah, and I was like, this is bullshit, and it's more bullshit because it's Jonathan Hickman writing it, and he like killed the Ultimate Universe with Secret Wars.
What?
Yeah, I don't like it. But Ultimate Universe is actually a grown Peter Parker and Mary Jane with kids. Is actually how they're doing it. Like the ultimate, like final, like evolution of where Spider-Man will end up. That's where they're starting the story, and I'm like, that's pretty clever. So it's like weird kismet. They announced that this week. It's pretty much going to be covering similar ground of what we're covering today. So I'm excited for that.
Very cool.
He's just gonna tie it in the MC2. Just put it all in there.
Hickman would do that shit. I'm sure he would. Given like 20 issues, he'll have some multiversal thing with Reed Richards, and they'll find her.
It'll happen. So I think we should jump into Spider-Girl. Of course, got to mention at the end of the show, we're going to read Earth X number 4. We're making our way through that one. Did anything happen in this book? You can't afford to miss it. You have to stick around to find out.
We'll get to it. We'll get to
it. So Spider-Girl number 0 here. This is Tom DeFalco is the main writer for the series as an ongoing, but this specific What If issue was Tom DeFalco and Ron Frenz doing script, plot, and pencils, and finishes by Bill Sienkiewicz, which I was very excited about. I love him. And go ahead, Chris.
I mentioned Pat O'Leaf already, who does the regular series, but Ron Frenz, he and Tom DeFalco did Amazing Spider-Man right around when the black costume gets introduced, and Roger Stern and J.R. Jr. is probably my favorite, like 25 issues or so of Amazing Spider-Man, but immediately following that is Tom DeFalco and Ron Frenz, which is also really, really good. So I was like, oh, this is like a really good era of Spider-Man. They know what's going on.
And I'm the same place as DeFalco because that's where I came into Spider-Man comics in the heart of the Clone Saga. So I really like Tom DeFalco as a writer. I'm like, yes, this is less convoluted and off the rails than Clone Saga was, with less bullshit villains.
He's basically like, you know, the sort of, if Roy Thomas is like a better version of Stan Lee, he's like a more accessible version of Roy Thomas. Mm-hmm. Like he's writing very classic Spider-Man stuff, but it in a way that is less like, you know, Roy Thomas is very preachy and Stan is just very like, I don't know, wooden.
Yes.
in his writing style. So it's just like, I get it. It's very approachable. So yeah, I have a soft spot for Tom DeFalco, even though I don't think he's like a great writer or anything.
Yeah. Same. I will say this book made a bad first impression on me by starting with the second person narration.
Oh, they all have it though.
Oh, you are May Parker. I know, like I'm looking at her. I know I'm not. Don't use that in a comic book.
You are. It's you, Kia. You're God. May Parker.
I would have felt it would have been fine if they said she is May Parker. That's okay.
Nope. Oh, you wanted the third person.
Second person.
This is how it is in the future. Everybody is in second person.
No, this is MC2. Yeah. The 2 stands for second person narration.
That's right.
I do also. Fucking A. I'm sorry. The lettering also is title case, which I don't think I've seen in Marvel outside of the Ultimate Universe.
I do like the lettering, actually.
Yeah, there was a crossover between the Ultimate Universe and the main Marvel continuity. Everybody from the Ultimate Universe talked in title case, and everybody in the main universe talked in like full uppercase, and it. But I found that very weird here.
So we're jumping into the story. We're starting at a basketball game at May's high school. And she's one of the star players on the team, but she really does a nice big jump in this
that girl
issue.
Dunks and gets like a 13-foot vertical.
Yeah, and everyone's going crazy. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, May, you're the best basketball player in the world!" And MJ and Peter in the audience.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh shit, powers!" But how is the world not concerned?
I feel like they should be.
This is ostensibly a world in which the Age of Heroes, Peter Parker, like the current continuity is 15 years ago. So Peter Parker's been operating for probably 10 years. Captain America's been back for 10 years. Like this is 25 years after the X-Men showed up. Like, question is, this girl's got powers. Like, fact one. Like that's what I think people should be thinking. That this book does not give a shit about that.
And they're congratulating her afterwards, and Peter and MJ are like, I'm sure there's an explanation, and there's both their spider senses go off, both Peter's and May's.
I love it.
Because there's a dude in the shadows behind a window. We don't know who it is. Looks kind of monstrous. And then we meet some of May's supporting cast. We have her friend Davida. We have Brad Miller and Moose, who are like jocks. She's got a real crush on Brad Miller. He's like the cutest guy in school.
He's cute. He's blonde. He's giving me Flash Thompson vibes. Moose is just a big, bulky dude, giving me Kong from Ultimate Universe vibes. But also, I don't know.
Isn't there a Moose in Archie?
Yeah.
I feel like you can't name a cast member in a high school entourage Moose. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe everybody fucking loves Archie and they named him Moose.
Oh, they named him after Archie.
They mentioned Batman and Robin, I think, in this book, right? Did I read that right?
They might have. They definitely mention Jack Nicholson Joker in the Earth X that we're going to read later.
Which is an old movie to them. I don't know. This book doesn't take place like in the future. There's not like futuristic technology. It seems like it's still rooted in
the late 90s, assuming everything else happened in real time before it, kind of.
Yes, yeah. The Marvel age started in the 60s, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Anyways,
I like that, though. That's a good choice.
She's got some jock friends, and then she also has her friends in the science club, Courtney and Jimmy.
Jimmy Yama.
And Jimmy, yeah. And Jimmy's definitely got a crush on May, and he hates jocks. His number one character trait is that he fucking hates these jocks with every fiber of his being.
Are we supposed to like Jimmy? Because he's giving me major like incel vibes. I feel like he's
100%.
He's going to definitely be a villain later in this book, right?
I see it. He's got an evil smirk on his face every damn time you see him.
Yeah. It is funny because, he is sort of the Peter-coded character where, like, May is very much not a loser like Peter was.
At all. But Courtney and Jimmy are like, hey, it's cool. You can go hang out with your jock friends. You just won a big game. You got to hang out with your teammates, right? And May is like, well, we can all just hang out together. And Moose is, like, very rude to them. Like, we're never hanging out with those damn nerds. And Brad Miller kind of supports that a little bit, and May's like, oh no, I thought I'd like that guy. I thought he was nicer. I don't know. So she goes off and goes with the science club instead.
May she loves like the mildest blonde boys. She's just like, oh, Brad, oh, Franklin Richards.
Franklin Richards is a celebrity in this universe, and he's another teen heartthrob.
May's got options, is what I'm hearing.
I do like the teen heartthrob kind of thing with Franklin Richards for sure. We'll talk more about him when he comes up, but it's just it's a nice touch. But then we see MJ and Peter talking. He gives a little flashback of all the history. I didn't mention Peter has a chronic limp, which is how they describe it, but that's not really the best way to describe it. Peter lost his leg.
As you say, he has a prosthetic leg. It's not really a limp.
It's not exactly a limp. So he's walking around everywhere with a cane. But he talks about how...
Yeah, we also have a buff baby alert I want to establish.
Buff baby?
Yeah. Mary Jane is carrying a buff baby in the flashback.
That is a buff baby. Yeah. May. So we get the story of how May was 2 years old during when Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, died in a fight with Spider-Man, and he was like, "Well, I don't see any more reason to be Spider-Man anymore. I'm not going to burden May with the knowledge of the past." So they never told May that he was Spider-Man. And in this universe, it was a secret forever. Nobody's known that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
It feels like Spider-Man's like a musician that like the Gen Zs just don't give a shit about. That was like super popular like in 2005. Like if you explain like explaining like Korn to Gen Zs, they're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, it was huge. It was huge.
I don't think Spider-Man is the Korn of superheroes.
Yeah.
I would say he's a much classier.
Like the Black Eyed Peas? They're like really big, but then like kind of irrelevant now.
No.
Maybe the Strokes.
The Strokes.
Yes. Yeah, I think the Strokes makes more sense.
Do the Gen Zs care about the Strokes? Write in.
I can't imagine that they do.
Yeah, if you care about the Strokes, let us know.
Do they have like a TikTok thing that plays Strokes songs? I don't think so. But yes.
All right. So May is walking around with the science club, her spider sense goes off, and a pumpkin bomb gets thrown at them. And it's the freaking Green Goblin comes down, and he goes, "Tell your father the Green Goblin has returned. We have unfinished business. Tell him to meet me at the bridge tomorrow at midnight. He'll know which bridge." And he gets out of there. Okay, cool intro. Peter, May goes and tells her parents about this. Peter and MJ are shocked, and they kind of cover it up a little bit. They're like, "Oh yeah, Peter works at a police lab, so he's going to make a few calls, get this all sorted out. It's probably something related to a case." And then Peter is really just like thinking, okay, Norman and Harry are dead. Who could it be? Well, wait a minute. Harry Osborn had a son named Normie Osborn, who should be around 19 or 20 by now. We learn how Normie came to be. When Harry Osborn died, his wife remarried. And so Peter calls and talks to this new husband and learns that.
Is Nelson married to Liz?
It's yes. Nelson. Yeah, Nelson who? Is this Foggy Nelson?
Yes.
I thought so.
I was wondering, but then I was like, his last name is Nelson. And now you're saying it aloud. I'm like, oh, they called him by his last name. Okay.
Did they ever name her Liz in this book? I was looking for it, and I was who was Harry married to?
Harry was married to Liz, and they had Normie Osborn.
I didn't remember, and I wish they had mentioned it. Yeah. Anyways, so Liz
She's
is
a female
She's
character
like
in the 90s. We don't care about her, even in the female-led book. Fair.
Liz Allen, owner of Alchemax.
Yep.
So Spider-Man 2099 connection.
Yep. Allen Chemical.
So she is sick. She's dying or something, and they're like, "Normie, no, we haven't heard from him since the day he learned that his mom was sick," which is all a little convenient that he got it in one. You know, Peter is like, "Maybe it's this guy." Yep, it's this guy.
It's like a new Green Goblin showed up the same day that May's powers showed up at basketball. I feel like we're operating on a lot of coincidence.
We are. It's a lot of that. And there is, in my general kind of, I don't know if it's a problem with this book, but at least a thing I noticed where people just show up and things happen and it's quick and you're like, okay, they're here now. And that's it.
But it's also like we've done that first year of Amazing Spider-Man. Like it's just that where it's just like, look, May is just where the villain is. Like that's just what happens.
Yep. So Peter is thinking about all this. He's got kind of this sad, depressed moment about like, oh, this life, I thought we were free of it and just trying to protect my family. And now it's being forced back on us. And MJ is talking to Peter. She's like, she can handle it, blah, blah, blah. She can handle being the daughter of Spider-Man. And May is like she's overhearing this. And she's like, oh, my God.
Yeah, this book really hammered home that I need to be fucking quiet around my kids because they could be listening at any goddamn moment.
They hear everything.
Because they don't give a shit about half of what I say. Like, they're not paying attention when I'm talking to them. But they'll sure shit if I'm talking about them. They're going to be paying attention.
Yeah, if you're saying something cool.
Like I'm the child of Spider-Man. Then they're going to pay attention. Does May know who Spider-Man is, by the way?
I guess she knows. I'll never forget the time my parents, I just overheard them as I was like, I forget if I was watching TV or something, and they're like, yeah, we got to stop. We're going to pull some money out of Janice and put it into bonds. And I was like, they're talking about GoldenEye. This is about the video game GoldenEye.
I did think this reveal was pretty effective, though, with May kind of in the shadows there behind the stairs, kind of hearing all this and that shocked look on her face. I liked it. And then we turn to the most ridiculous page in this comic, which is Normie Osborn as the Green Goblin preparing to go into battle. And he's donning his Green Goblin mask. He's got his purple gloves laid out on his journal. He's shirtless and like surrounded by candles. He has a giant tattoo on his back that says, "Honor thy father, kill the spider." And on the front it says revenge. And he's got that same trademark Norman Osborn hair, but it's long, almost kind of like a Predator.
He's got the cornrows, but they're like he looks like a '90s like gang villain.
Oh my god!
It's fucking and it's as '90s as you can '90s, and I love it.
This page caught me off guard for sure.
This is 100%. A Batman Forever image if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, it's great. And I do love, because this is over the top, Normie is a like recurring character throughout Spider-Girl. This is not his only appearance, but he is not just a villain. So it's just like, this is him like being super extreme.
Yeah. So we
he's
see
not always
Peter.
a villain, but he's still rolling with these tattoos.
He always has the tattoos, but he does get a haircut later.
Okay, good. He needs one.
I'm gonna read. I feel like we used to do this segment where like, are you gonna read more of this? I feel like I am. This is really good.
I think I am too. I'll spoiler alert. I really like it. So Peter visits he goes to visit some other superheroes because he needs some help. First, he goes to visit the Fantastic Five. What? There's 5?
Yep. Love that shit.
And
That's great. That's great.
It's perfect. That's exactly what I want in an alternate future story. We see like a big image of them at the entryway where we have Human Torch and the Thing are there, but there's like a green lady, there's some blonde dude, there's like a there's like a flying robot.
That's Lila Laserfist. She married Johnny Storm. We all know who that is.
Sure we do.
I do like how the book doesn't say any of their names until like 3 issues later. We just start with this image. It's
great.
It's really cool.
It's just it's been however many years Johnny runs the Fantastic Five now, apparently, or a big brain does.
Yeah. That looks like the Herbie the robot, right? Hermie?
Yep.
Herbie,
yeah.
It's like a flying Slimer, but in robot is what I see. So Peter asks the receptionist there if Johnny's around, or if the Human Torch is around, and they're out in deep space. Unfortunately, they can't hang out, and Peter's like, okay, who can I turn to instead? Then we see May. May is the one he should be turning to, but he can't accept that yet. May is on the basketball court, and she's like, all right, well, let's see what these powers can do. And she's like, whoa, this is pretty cool. And her friend Davida comes in, and she's like, okay, I gotta put a lid on it. And she kind of does decide she's not going to tell anyone about her powers right now. Then we see Peter go to visit the Avengers. I really like this scene. He's a little bit shocked to see the Avengers because he doesn't recognize anyone. They're all young and new.
That's my experience with most Avengers comics.
Yeah. And one of the guys is like, afternoon, sir. And this girl's like, what's the problem, Pops? And he's just, the look on his face is like almost horror. Yeah.
But what also I like about this point in time is Peter really didn't have much relationship with the Avengers, right? Because he didn't join the Avengers till like 2004. So he
does mention that he was a part of them at one point, but probably not like a major part.
Yeah, he was briefly a reserve Avenger in like the mid 80s, but went on like 2 missions and basically quit after that.
Yeah. But yeah, his relationship with these heroes is great. Who do we recognize from here? Because there's a big guy in like a brown. There's Speedball. Yeah, there's a guy in a brown Juggernaut costume. There's the Vision on a TV screen. Is that Aranya? Is that her name? Who is that spidery looking girl?
Aranya wouldn't have been around at this time.
No, none of them are.
Who is that?
I mean, so it is the son of the Juggernaut is the guy who looks like the Juggernaut.
That's right, Chris. Your sister read all of this book, like a lot of this book, didn't she? Right.
Yes.
And there's a Jubilee-looking girl.
Let's see. So Jubilee.
That's not. Is that Jubilee?
Yeah, that's Jubilee.
Okay.
Let's see. Who else? Jolt from Thunderbolts.
Okay.
Jolt. I don't remember him at all.
She's got the electrical powers.
Oh, that's Jolt.
Is
I
that
thought
the girl
was
with the
a
computer?
spider person. Yeah, you're right. That is Jolt. I do remember her now.
So
I thought that guy was a Jolt. I thought maybe that was a J on his chest that was cut off, but it's a T.
Yeah. I think. Oh, that's probably Thunderstrike, the son of the original Thunderstrike.
We figured it out. Good job, Chris.
So Chris reading the What If issue in 1998 knows all of this. He's like, man, there's so much going on here.
I wasn't identifying all of those characters on sight the first time I read this.
This is such a backdoor pilot though, because I don't think they have any idea there's actually like a real book coming out yet.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I don't think because Spider-Girl comes out 7 months later or 6 months later, and then A Next or whatever it's called is like a year later and only lasts a year. So it's like maybe we can make a whole other series with this. And she references another Avenger that we don't see, right? Stinger, which is very obviously the. I don't think she actually is Wasp's child, but she's very clearly set up. Like, is she Wasp's daughter?
It looks like it's going to be a fun universe to dive into. But anyways, Peter leaves the young Avengers, not the young Avengers, but the young
the Avengers who are young, lowercase young.
Yeah, and he says he manages to leave with his dignity intact, and he didn't want to make these kids fight for him. Then Mary Jane.
Jubilee's like 30. Come on, Peter.
Mary Jane and May have a heart-to-heart kind of thing, talking about why they hid it from her. They show her Peter's old costume, and then she's like, "There's 2 costumes up here." And they're like, "Yeah, one was Uncle Ben's," which really it did take me a second to be like, "Oh, Ben Reilly, Clone Saga, shit, okay."
Yeah, and I like how May is instantly like, the '90s costume is cooler. The one that was just designed, that one's the one I like.
Yep. And then we get to the encounter at the bridge. Peter is talking to Normie Osborn, who's all dressed up as the Green Goblin. Peter is just in plain clothes. He's got his cane there. And he's saying there's no need for fighting. Of course, that doesn't work. Normie wants Peter to get in costume so he can kill Spider-Man, because that's very important to him. This guy seems kind of deranged and crazy. Peter did bring a gun, and Normie kind of lifts Peter up into the sky and sees the gun kind of sticking out of his pocket, and he's like, no, this motherfucker was here to kill me. MJ shows up because, of course, she does, and now Green Goblin goes after her. And then Spider-Girl swings in with a really good line. She says, "You want a spider? Face it, Tiger. You just hit the jackpot." It's a good line. It's a good line.
Mm-hmm. She's a good mix of both of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point here they jump back into the second person again, and I'd kind of almost forgotten it. Oh, what is it? The familiar words spring from your mouth in a nervous rush. Like, okay, come on, you killed the moment for me.
Yeah. I mean, how often does Mary Jane say that? Just doing regular things that she knows that this is like her mom's catchphrase.
Yeah, it's the spider powers. She can't. She passes it on.
Do your parents have a catchphrase?
My parents don't know.
No, because that would be a lot easier because they're not going to do impressions of them. They need people need catchphrases for me to hang an impression onto.
Yeah.
My dad's catchphrase is, "I'm serious."
I do like your dad.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's pretty funny.
What happens next? I really enjoyed this fight scene. I didn't write down too many little specifics here, but just May jumping around. She like keeps him talking the way Peter would always, of course, do, and Peter's looking at her like, "Yeah, she's keeping him talking. Great, good job, man." And she gets the Green Goblin talking about his mom. And like, "Oh, how would you feel about this? Blah, blah, blah. How would she feel about you doing all this?" And she kind of outsmarts him and webs one of his bombs to his hands. And it explodes. There's like a moment where she's like, she did something sciencey about it, where she's like, "Oh, your hands have electricity. If I web the bomb in there, I feel like it would have exploded no matter what." Anyways, he like falls down from the blast, almost gets run over by a truck. But May webs him out of the way at the last moment. She's really good with those webs for just kind of putting them on and not having designed them or anything or done anything with them. She is good with them.
Right. Like, because I like that part about like the Spider-Verse movie that like Miles clearly doesn't know what he's doing with the webs.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the video game, I feel like he doesn't know what he's doing. He's kind of a little more clumsy than Peter. His animations.
Mm-hmm. But that's it for the first issue. Really, they have a little epilogue moment where they burn the spider stuff because Peter doesn't want it around. Yeah,
that's gonna be harder for continuity. That's gonna be harder to paint yourself out of. But okay.
Yep. But they managed to do it.
Yep.
But that's the Zero issue, which was a really good setup for all this stuff. Again, if it just been a one shot, I think that would have been pretty cool. But it's nice that they kind of let them keep going off of it.
I feel like they had an idea, or at least somebody's like, "I want to do this," and they're like, "We're gonna put in a what if."
Yeah, we'll see if people
and
like
it gets
it.
any traction, then we'll do more. I feel like that's probably the way it is, because otherwise, I feel like what if issues aren't usually this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't have that. Maybe there's another version out there because Spider-Girl #0 is a reprint of that What If issue. Didn't those have like Uatu in them? Like, "Oh, check this out." You know, kind of doing an intro.
Or they do like this like extrapolation. Honestly, the only one we read I think we've read a couple of these, but we read What If Gwen Stacy had lived, and it ends up with like a huge extrapolation where Peter ends up in prison. Like it goes like years later.
Yeah, it's like then because that happened, that means that Daredevil killed the Punisher, and you're like, really? How do those things? Like people just start dropping like flies in one of the issues.
They didn't have Spider-Man around to show them good morality.
And then the Kingpin became president of the world. Like,
no, what a twist.
So jumping into Spider-Girl #1, Pat O'Leaf takes over here. It's definitely a cleaner style than Sienkiewicz, but I don't know. I just prefer the Sienkiewicz. It's not bad.
Well, it's the Friends and Sienkiewicz.
Ron Friends and Sienkiewicz inking it.
Sure, right. And did y'all notice Pat O'Leaf? They misspelled his name on the cover. The one that I was looking at. They had one L. It's supposed to have two L's.
You gotta take the L.
On the Spider-Girl #1 cover. They fix it on the future issues.
Wow.
Yeah, it feels bad. But what do we get here? We start with a tiny little recap of the first issue. That narration is back.
Freshly drawn drawings, not copying the last one issues.
Not
drawings.
copying. Yep. There is a scene later where I think they copied some drawings. I noted it because I think it's a friend of the show now. It's something we got to point out. May is at school with her science friends. Courtney is talking about how she got a crush on Franklin Richards, who got interviewed on TV last night. May didn't catch it. She was busy doing stuff.
Is DeVita been kicked out of the cast?
I think DeVita got kicked out because I was reading back to the first issue and I read her friends' names and I was like, DeVita. Wait, DeVita?
That seems they kicked the woman of color out. Okay, that's fucked up. But it is very much like a difference between a pilot where like half the supporting cast isn't back. Okay. We're just never going to talk about him again.
Yep, DeVita got transferred to another school overnight. But Jimmy gets pranked by Moose with a bucket of water on his locker, which just further intensifies his rage, turning him into a supervillain, I assume.
I do like that Jimmy's like, I got drenched, and Moose is like, I hate to point out the purpose of the gag, but like that was the point, man.
That was the point.
Yeah, like the whole thing was to get you wet.
Duh. It's weirdly endearing to me in kind of a fucked up way. It's funny.
May jumps in to kind of diffuse the situation and kind of remembers her powers, and she's like, "Ooh, I gotta check myself." Brad Miller is also a bit of a gentleman. I think he's not really portrayed as in the first issue. It was kind of questionable, like, okay, is he a jerk or not, whatever. But he is pretty much good and boring from here on out. He's very boring.
He's the Dawson. You're like this boring ass guy.
Yes.
You big Paisley guy, Chris?
Just anti-Dawson mostly.
So May then heads to. Oh, that's right. Brad offers some clothes to Jimmy, but Jimmy's like, I don't want your damn clothes. Get out of here.
Jimmy is definitely gonna bring a gun to school.
Yeah, he's the Peter Parker of like circa issue 2 or whatever. Where he's like, I'll show them all. I'll show them. You're just like, okay, calm down, nerd.
So May heads to her dad's work. He works at a crime lab. And his dad's assistant is Phil Urich, who we have seen throughout comics. He was the Green Goblin for a little while. He talks about it a little bit here, but she mainly goes to ask him about Spider-Man. He goes, Spider-Man, I haven't heard that name in years. And she, feels like, from everything I know about Spider-Man and his origin story, I just kind of know that somebody really close to him died, and he learned that with great power comes great responsibility. And I'm
just putting a shot in the dark. Who could tell?
Yeah, something like that. It seems weird that she's learning all this from Phil, but it's nice.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, like Phil Urich is like the character that he's a reformed Green Goblin. Like he's not a villain, and then like he became a villain. Like I think in Dan Slott's run, and that's like the first time I got like. I usually am like, it's okay. It's a new writer, new continuity. I got really pissed off. The first time I ever got really pissed off at like miscast continuity was Phil Urich turning back into a villain. I was like, this is bullshit. He'd never do it. I was so mad.
Yeah. I didn't read that, but I was very mad when it happened. The first time that happened to me was when Sandman was basically put in a id machine by John Byrne and turned into a villain, where he would remain a villain for the next 25 years, where I'm like, the whole point is he reformed. He quit the Sinister Six. He's good now. And like they're like, no, he got turned bad again. Nothing we can do. And it's just like, what? So
I'm with you.
If such a machine exists, turn him good again. Like, what are you?
So
Nope,
that's our deep seated Phil Urich moment. I really like this character. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I really like Phil. I read his entire Green Goblin series, which is only like 11 issues or something like that.
I think, yeah.
Which I thought was very fun. He was incredibly underpowered, which I thought made it a fun read because like every fight, you're like, this guy's in so far over his head.
Is he a good guy, Green Goblin?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about it was he hadn't taken the like whatever the
goblin serum or whatever.
The serum, yeah, but he was getting like secondhand exposure by like wearing the mask and everything. So he would have like the ghost of like Norman Osborn and Harry Osborn like appear to him and start talking to him. You see he was slowly losing his mind from exposure. Like I thought it was so cool.
That's good. That's good.
And Phil Urich is Ben Urich from Daredevil and the Daily Bugle's nephew or son.
Yes, nephew, I think.
Nephew, yeah, that's right. Because in the bullshit story, I got mad. He's like, I also have an Uncle Ben. And I'm like, this is bullshit.
Not everybody needs a damn Uncle Ben.
There's a lot of Uncle Bens rolling around the Marvel universe.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a canon event. But yeah, so
Peter shows up at work here with his boss, Captain Ruiz. I was like, oh, May, what are you doing here? And May kind of covers that she was hoping to get some lunch with him. But Peter and his boss have to go meet the district attorney.
Which he says District Attorney Yama, which makes me think that Jimmy Yama's parent is the ADA.
That could be it.
Maybe.
That could come into play.
Doesn't in this book, but I feel like that's...
I feel like they should be going to a special school if that's the case. If like, because May should probably already be going to some sort of like gifted school.
Yeah, maybe it is special. They've got the best basketball team of all.
Yeah, Midtown's got the best and the best science programs.
Yeah,
Coach Flash Thompson, he runs a tight ship.
Yep. So as they're leaving to go their separate ways, both of their spider senses go off, and there is some creep behind a newspaper, like following Peter, holding up the newspaper the whole time. You don't need your spider sense to know that dude is looking weird. And Peter gives like, I'm sure you're headed straight home, May, and she's like, yeah, of course. Or like straight to English class. But she skips English lit class to go follow this guy. Well, first she like catches him in a trash can and bangs him from side to side against an alley in a very nice scene. And then follows him to a clothing store, and she's like, okay, maybe I should just like leave at this point. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, I do appreciate, because again, she's a teenager. She's like, well, I haven't actually caught him breaking any law. Like he was just being suspicious.
Yeah, you're the one who actually broke a law by throwing that trash can over him. But she goes to school, runs into Davida. Oh, Davida is here.
Okay.
Okay,
good.
Yeah.
She's not wearing red.
She really doesn't show up as much.
She's changed her outfit also.
Yeah, she shows up in the issue 4, whatever the issue with the janitor.
Okay. Yes. Okay. And she's like, oh, I had to run an errand for my parents. And she's like, okay, see you at practice. And she's like, oh yeah, practice. And we kind of learned that she's also losing her interest in basketball. She kind of likes that rush of being a hero.
It's kind of hyperfixation, and basketball's not given to her anymore.
And also, it is kind of unfair for her to be like beating everybody.
There's a world with superpowers that have been around for at least 25 years. This girl's not playing basketball anymore.
No.
I mean, but definitely not in Texas, where we're. That's.
Yeah. They're testing her for spider DNA. They're like, look, if she's even 1% spider DNA, she can't play basketball.
Yep.
Radioactive spider blood. Sorry. But she ditches the jocks again after her practice. Then at night, she like kind of questions Peter about what's going on at work. And he's like, oh, yeah, we're on some case about a mob trying to bust into the clothing store industry. And May's like, oh, okay. And at night, she suits up and heads out. The costume is burned, so she had to make her own black suit with a ski mask. It's like exercise gear and whatever. And she goes and spies on the mob.
They did not burn the web shooters, I guess, also.
No, they didn't burn the web shooters because those are still there. And she goes and she just decides to attack them all at some point. She just jumps in. But they have a teleporter guy named Mr. Nobody in there with them. I like this guy. I like the way he's introduced. Just a cool teleporter, dude.
Yeah, I do like that it's not completely beholden to like, oh, this is the son of Dr. Octopus.
Right.
Right.
That would get old pretty quickly. So yeah, it's just
Mhm.
like, this is a new villain. He has teleporting powers and just guns.
He's just there. Yeah. And then right then Captain Ruiz calls Peter at home. And she thinks their case is breaking because there's gunfire at the clothing shop they had under observation. Oh my God. That was fast. May kind of gets the one up on Mr. Nobody thanks to her spider sense, being able to tell where he's going to teleport to. The cops show up to arrest everybody, but Mr. Nobody teleports out, and May straight up bounces. She's not going to hang out there. And at the crime scene, Peter learns that the leader of the gang escaped, and some lady ninja. And then Peter's like, "What?" And he runs out, and then Phil finds webbing there. What? Oh my goodness. Then Mr. Nobody meets with his boss, the kingpin of crime.
Who's in prison.
He actually looks kind of small sitting in that chair. He looks,
maybe,
angle. I don't know. It's a weird angle. He looks like a Chucky doll just kind of sitting there maybe. And then at night, May is kind of lying in bed, hiding with her costume under the covers. Kind of knowing her dad's going to walk up and say something, and he does, and like kind of puts his hand on the door, and he walks away. He doesn't know what to say. And then she makes a new costume, and it looks really good. She can sew too. She made it fast.
Yeah.
It was like,
You got to have that costume in the first issue.
Yeah, you got to get it in there.
Yeah, it was all baggy in the first issue probably because it was made for Ben. He's differently proportioned.
But spandex, I guess it's or unstable molecules, whatever.
Right.
On to Spider-Girl number 2 here. We get into some more kind of typical adventure-y stuff, but there's still this through line of her and her parents not necessarily knowing what she's doing.
That's where I think like the most unique element of this book is it's parents that are aware that their daughter is a hero. They're not aware to the extent that she is. And I really like that. And it's like I think in the previous issue, like Mary Jane's even like putting feelers out. It's almost like a mom like trying to figure out like how far has this kid gone with her boyfriend. Like kind of like this kind of questioning. She's like, I want to remain positive. I want to be a cool parent, but I'm also like making sure this kid's safe. So she's like poking questions to be like, how much Spider-Girling are you doing here? And so I really like that element because it's not like fully like hiding your superheroing from your parents. But they're also not like the guy in the chair either. It's a very interesting dynamic that I think is pretty unique for superhero comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
And it lets Peter, I mean, he can be just kind of like wrong in a way because like because you know Peter Parker, you're not just like, oh, this guy's an asshole, he's the worst. You're like, well, it's Peter Parker. Like this, it makes sense that he would be like this.
Right. Mm-hmm. He's written still. I mean, Tom DeFalco wrote him for at least 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the other little wrinkle in there is that Peter used to be a superhero too, so he's snuck out all the same ways and everything like that.
Right, it's all coming home to roost.
It is very much that, like, when a kid's lying to you, you're like, I've told those same lies in the past. I know, dude. Like, I can tell. And like a parent with a superhero kid maybe can't tell that because there's so weird lies, but Peter knows. Peter's been there.
And also, May at the same time is like, you did the same exact shit,
yes.
Dad. She's not wrong.
Yeah.
Peter is being a big old hypocrite.
And Peter's like, no, but my uncle died. You don't understand.
Peter was a trendsetter back then, Now it's just a trend that his daughter's hopped off on.
Yeah, but we also like drink water from hoses and got diseases. Like it was different. Shut the fuck up.
Shut up, kid. All right. So let's jump into issue 2. May is out on the prowl, just doing Spider-Girl stuff. And she runs into this dude named Crazy 8, who kind of looks like Jim Morrison to me. Is that off base? I don't really know 100% what it looks like, but I feel like this is the cover of a Doors album.
You're not wrong in that regard.
Yeah,
he's got like kind of he looks like the Spot, but with 8 balls instead of spots, and then he's got like kind of like a crazy long hair. I was thinking more like weirdly Neil Gaiman, but I think that's just because he's like super pale wearing black.
But this guy throws 8 balls around. I think that's his power. Then she runs into Dark Devil. She like almost gets beat up by this guy and has to retreat, and Dark Devil shows up, who is like a very demonic, vicious looking version of Daredevil.
Maybe a ghost.
Maybe it goes. The rumors say that he's a ghostly manifestation of the original Daredevil. We don't find out in these 5 issues here, so I don't know. But he says, "Meet me at the pier. Maybe at Pier 87 tomorrow at midnight." Everybody wants to meet tomorrow at midnight.
He's always like cackling, and he's got a different font for. He's got like a Venom font for his lettering.
Yeah. MJ and Peter are talking, and MJ is like, "Peter, you got to talk to May." Uncle Phil tells May that he found this webbing at the crime scene. He's like, "Should I tell Peter?" And he's asking May if he should tell Peter. Why are you asking May? Peter is your boss, and it's like, you don't know already that this girl is Spider-Girl, do you?
Does Phil know that Peter was Spider-Man?
Yeah. I think he does, and he
may just be overplaying his hand.
He may be
like, there's a guy with spiderwebs. Should I tell your dad? Like, assuming that May would know that her dad was Spider-Man.
Right. And May is a very like, let's just keep it between us, which I guess is his way of kind of knowing for sure. But like,
he seems shocked when she does tell him a couple issues later.
Yeah, I don't know how, because he should know. Like,
he knows in this scene, but he didn't know 2 issues later.
Right.
It's just a little surprised that she came in through the window and was like just in his office or his house or whatever.
Yeah, that could be it. Like that maybe, or maybe he was like, "Whoa, I didn't know. I had no idea. You kept the secret so well."
But yeah, later he's just like, "Yeah, there's stuff about your dad I can't tell you because that would be betraying his confidence." I'm like, "Yeah, he definitely knows he was Spider-Man."
Yeah, that's the line that kind of made me think he does.
Okay.
But then there's a scene with Peter and May at lunch. What was that?
That was me blowing my nose. I apologize. I immediately did it, and I was like, "Fuck, that's on the microphone."
Why did you do that? Why'd you do that on a podcast?
I got cocky. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, listeners. You should apologize to the listeners.
Yeah. No, you shouldn't. They don't.
They don't deserve it.
They don't deserve anything. But Uncle Phil. No, we're done with that scene. So Peter and May are at lunch, and they're talking, but they're not really saying anything. You know, it's just a scene of a typical parent, like, how's work, how's school, you know, that kind of thing.
This is clearly mom said, "You need to talk to your daughter." And
right.
He was like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do love it because I do feel like if she was just like a teenage boy, he would be like talking to her about like, "Oh, have you noticed this power or this power?" But like, he just doesn't feel comfortable about it at all.
Mm-hmm. And the way this scene is set up, I was like, "Oh, are we looking for something in the background that's changing here? Of like somebody's going to be approaching them here?" No, it is. This is 6 copies of the same panel, and I'm pretty sure they're copies.
Yeah, this is Pat O'Leaf saving a little time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Good job, Pat.
Good job, Pat.
Get that paper.
Jimmy is going to fight Moose after school because he's sick of being just a nerd. He's got to stand up for himself. And May is like, "This is a bad idea." And she locks Moose in a locker. Afterwards, Jimmy doesn't show up, and what does May say?
Moose doesn't show up. Jimmy's there.
Sorry, yeah, Moose doesn't show up, and May says, "Oh, he remembered a previous engagement." Okay, May. And Jimmy is pissed, like, "I don't know what you did, but I don't like it. I really wanted to prove myself." So he's a villain. Then we get.
It is funny because it is just Flash Thompson and Peter like challenging each other to a fight in like whatever issue that was of the first year of Spider-Man.
I was trying to tell if like they actually like synced up the numbers properly. Like in the next issue when like she meets the Fantastic Five. Did she meet the Fantastic Four in issue 3?
No,
that was issue 1 or 2. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's right, because it was like, and there's also like 2 stories in that book. I feel like if Jimmy gets murdered and dies and he's a martyr, I'm gonna be real upset because he's a little shit, and we shouldn't feel bad for him.
It's been a long time since I've read it, but I don't think anything like that happens.
Does Jimmy turn into a villain?
I think he's mostly just a friend. Like, I think he tries to date May, which is like heavily hinted at here. I appreciate it's super obvious reading it. We're all very smart, very smart, good boys. So we immediately pick up on it. But it is funny, just the like, sort of love square of like Jimmy likes May, Courtney likes Jimmy, May likes Brad, and it's just like this sort of like every character is like to the next character over.
Yeah.
Where like we don't know what Brad and Moose like, but it's probably something. I don't know.
Boring things.
Yeah. Brad's boring. Brad Miller
does
does
say...
talk
about video games. I don't even like video games.
Yeah.
I bet video games would be... Oh, no, it's set in the present. Okay. I thought they were going to be cooler in the future.
It's set in the present, written
There's
by
no
a boomer.
video games in
They
Earth.
don't give a shit about PlayStation 1, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they're just playing, Metal Gear Solid.
But Brad says, hey, that kid's got guts. About Jimmy talking about how he wants something to prove.
He loves Nickelodeon guts, okay.
So May goes to the pier because that's where Dark Devil said to meet him, and there's some deal happening with Crazy 8. And there's a nice big fight here. She gets a blast kind of near her head that blows out one of her ears. She's off balance, so she has to retreat. But she doesn't really retreat. She kind of goes around and then gets the jump on Crazy 8. Takes him down. Dark Devil shows up. Oh, I didn't really talk a lot about some of the stuff he said, but she was really saying, you're playing up here and being a hero. And he really plays that up here, saying she just got lucky tonight. Luck doesn't last. Only a matter of time before she's dead. And that's it. Bye, Dark Devil. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah, weird into an issue. It seemed very abrupt.
Yeah. On to number 3, the Fantastic Five are on the cover here. And they run them all down in the side panel of the first page here, just saying guest starring all these people. And we learn that the Fantastic Five are Reed Richards, a.k.a. Big Brain. He's in the robot body. They saved his brain, apparently. Love it. We have Franklin Richards, who is Psylord. He's the cute blonde. We have Lila or Elijah Storm.
I think it's pronounced Lila.
Okay. She is Miss Fantastic.
Though, yeah.
But I think it's pronounced Lila, though.
She is Miss Fantastic, shapeshifter, a Skrull.
She's married to Johnny Storm?
Yes, she's married to Johnny Storm, who's their leader, and Ben Grimm, the ever-loving thing, is still there.
Never
wait, he has like a metal
arm
thing. Oh, yeah. I didn't really notice that. But the plot for this issue is that Peter is getting some award, some special commendation from the police at 6 o'clock tonight. And she says she'll be there. May's going to be there.
She's not going to be
superhero
there.
Stuff and me Smith it. We know she's not going to be there. And MJ also knows she's not going to be there and has a little moment with her afterwards saying like, hey, you're going to be there, right? She's like, I said I'm going to be there, Mom.
In her defense, even if she didn't like turn into, put on a superhero outfit, I feel like what happens would have stopped her from getting there.
I don't remember what happened.
There's just a big attack.
They go to
a
museum.
Oh, yes. Okay.
But maybe you shouldn't be
like
going to a fucking museum when you know you need to be somewhere. But I guess she was like, well, Peter, what
those kids, you can't keep them out of the museum.
You can't. Well, so what is it? They live in Queens? I don't think they officially say, but they probably live in Queens, right? And she's like, I'll fucking be in Manhattan. I'm going to be bored, like waiting for my dad's thing at 6. So I might as well go to the Fantastic Five Museum.
That makes sense.
She was a superhero, right? That makes sense. Okay.
Right. And you think, it'll be like 3.5 hours. It'll be fine. But then a supervillain attacks.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do?
All right, so hold on. Let's slow down. Let's get there first. We got Courtney is trying to tell May. Oh, okay, here we go. I went too far. Y'all tricked me into going too far here. All right. Jimmy tries to ask May on a date to the new Fantastic Five museum. But then everyone overhears it, and it turns into a big old group hang with the nerds and the jocks together.
The jocks are really down on the concept of going to a fucking museum with a lot of cool weapons and space shit. I feel
why do they go if they hate it so much?
But they do. They like shit on the idea. But I'm like, the jocks would be into like, there's a fucking laser gun, man. Like they would be totally cool into it. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
This
Courtney
is like
tries
it's a
to
war
tell...
movie. This is cool shit.
Yeah. So Courtney tries to tell May like, hey, you should be into Jimmy. He's so cool and so cute. He's as smart as Franklin Richards. And May's like, I don't know. I'm not really feeling it. And then a super villain comes in through the portal. He's this old dude with a white goatee and kind of like almost divery looking gear.
He reminds me of the Black Cat's father, but it's not the Black Cat.
It's not.
It does look like Felicia Hardy's dad from the Spider-Man cartoon.
Mm-hmm. What's his name? They name him later in the issues. It's not a name. I realized. We'll get to it.
Spiral or something.
Spiral. I think that was it.
But we don't know him from normal continuity.
I don't.
Okay, so he's not real. If Chris doesn't know him, he's not real.
So
first appearance, Spider-Girl number 3. Yeah.
Look at him.
So May transforms to Spider-Girl. Like she goes and gets changed.
I like how she's doing this by like holding a leg shut on the door.
She realized this is her first time in front of the general public as Spider-Girl, and she's like, "Ooh, my parents are gonna find out about this." Don't worry, May. They didn't even know you were attacked at the museum, so you're fine. They're just mad you didn't show up to the thing.
See, that's the thing is the parents are like, as a parent, I hope my son doesn't listen to this show. We're in our own shit so much. We're not paying attention to everything they're doing. It's fine. Like they may not even pick up others as Spider-Girl.
Your kids are also, you're not in being like, if you can make it, Bruce, just whenever you can swing by.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, if my kid is like 15, 16, it's like, look, I know you got a lot of shit. This is important to me. Fucking try to be there. It is a social experience. I don't want to be there. Like, that's how it's going to be. I know. It's like, this is
that's
important.
Fine. Just don't
to our
come.
family
it's
brand,
okay.
we need to all be here. No, what okay.
Family brand.
Family brand. All right.
It's going to look like he does have an unsupported family, ungrateful family. He's going to embarrass Peter in front of his coworkers and community. It's going to be a sad.
All right.
That's right.
We got to keep moving here. The Fantastic Four come in. So this guy is searching for like this power cell thing that's going to help him get home or something like that. I don't know. The Fantastic Four come in and they're like, hey, who are you and why are you here with Spiral? And she's like, no, I'm not with that guy. I'm trying to take that guy down. But they're like, we're not sure, so we're going to try and take you down too. We're not going to hurt you.
I like how she like blocks beams with like the Silver Surfer's surfboard and other shit in the museum.
Cool.
It's cool.
Mm-hmm. But the villain gets away. May gets away as well. And then Phil Urich finds May and wants to tell her. Oh, this is where he tells her, like, hey, I got to tell you about this time that I was the Green Goblin for a while, but I was the good Green Goblin. And I really miss it. There's something about it being a hero that gets in your blood.
So Tom DeFalco wrote that book, by the way, I want to establish. And it was canceled 2 years ago. This is Tom DeFalco talking.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's also, he's just like, I would like to be the guy in a chair. I know this term doesn't exist yet, but yes. I want to be your sidekick.
Your
like,
oracle,
guy
whatever.
Yes. It is weird that he says, I hunted you down I tracked you down to talk to you about this. And like, they go sit at a diner and talk about how he used to be the Green Goblin. It seems like if I was in May's position, that seems like a weird thing for your dad's coworker to do. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to tell you about how I was the Green Goblin.
Yeah. For like a 30-year-old to be like, look, I have to tell you something. I used to fight crime.
And
I want to fight crime with you.
If you're a 15-year-old and any of my male friends like wanted to talk to either of my kids like one-on-one for that long, like in a diner, I'd be like,
that's not okay.
This is overstepping, man. Like,
no.
Yeah. Anyways, she goes off and she finds the Fantastic Five. I just wrote FF, and everyone knows what that means.
Future
Fantastic
Foundation.
Five. Yeah. She sees them flying away and kind of follows them assuming they're going after Spiral. We get a nice big fight scene with all of them where Spider-Girl does manage to grab the power crystal thing away from him, and then she and Franklin Richards get sucked into some dimension, and so they're having a little moment together. And she's a little bit starstruck, and Franklin Richards is like, "Hey, that was quick thinking or whatever. That was sharp," he says, grabbing that thing. And she's like, "Oh my God, Franklin Richards thinks I'm sharp." Nice little moment, I thought. A very different wrinkle to another boy that she's interested in, who's totally in on the superhero side of things, which is just a great way.
We've got like a Black Cat situation almost. We've got we're catching love from other heroes. We got multiple options at the school. Man, it's a good time. It's a good time to be Mayday Parker.
Yep. And she was in another dimension. So, she does. Franklin Richards does kind of give the rest of the Fantastic Four, like, hey, you know what? I think she's good people. We're good with her. And then May goes to the ceremony, missed it. MJ waited for her there. And Peter was going to wait
gotta be
too.
Dramatic. You gotta sit there.
She
and be
told.
dramatic.
Well, hold on. Here's the thing, though. Peter was going to wait, and she told Peter not to bother because she has other priorities in her life, and she's not going to be there. But she did show up because MJ waited for her. You know, like if Peter had waited, May would have gotten there, right? Not for the ceremony.
She missed his ceremony, but this is drama to the drama because Mary Jane waits there just to say a shitty remark that she's been rehearsing for the last 30 minutes.
Yeah,
and then just walks off. Like,
you know what she should have said?
In an opposite direction.
She should have given a face it, Tiger. You just missed the jackpot.
Oh.
Wow. Did she ever say that? I think she should use it now.
Face it, Tiger. You lost the anti-jackpot.
Yeah.
Face it, Tiger. None of your numbers matched.
Definitely a face it, Tiger. You're in trouble. You're grounded.
Yep. She should use Face It, Tiger in a lot of ways. I think she's missing an opportunity.
It's pretty obvious you currently have much greater priorities in life.
Yeah. Boo.
Mom should know that this is Spider-Girl, though.
Yeah. Well, I feel like she probably knows, but it's like, even if you don't, it's like, hey, I just, there was a attack at the museum I was
at. Not even hey, what happened? Hey, we're like,
she
your
didn't want
dad's
to hear
gone,
it.
and we're mad at you.
It's tough because like her mother is hurt, the family brand has been damaged. Peter looks like a buffoon, and so she's upset, and she's not thinking beyond that.
He, in his speech, he's like, and I owe it all to my daughter, who I am sure is right here as I point to.
And then the spotlight goes on them, and she's not there. And then Foggy Nelson is like, man, you're a fucking bad parent. That's what he's thinking. Yeah, Foggy's there.
Wow, he's in every issue.
Yeah.
Wow. Right. As he's like, as a stepdad of a supervillain, I really look at
Yeah, that's what happened. That's how dire this was. That's how big of a bad social faux pas this was.
Wow.
Great. I love this scenario we made up.
Yep. All right, so on to issue 4. We'll probably go through number 4.
These are so fucking dense.
Well, those first 3 especially were, but 4 and 5 aren't quite as dense. Yeah, I think we can get through these a little bit more quickly.
We can breeze through these. I think we're getting the flavor of what this is.
It's so good, though.
So this is a heavily school-focused issue here. We start with May getting chewed out by her parents again of Spider-Girl stuff. Don't be Spider-Girl. But time to go to work and school, etc. They have to stop talking, quit their fight. Peter's just been yelling forever. Moose and Jimmy are fighting at school, kind of shoving each other around, and they bump into the janitor.
And also, she's learning, like, I've got to let them fight. It's not my responsibility.
Yep.
Which then makes me think Jimmy's definitely going to get murdered here. It's just so bad.
But yeah, Jimmy gets thrown into the janitor, who this guy is a character for sure. First off, he's like, my name is Carlton T. Hackmutter, as if you care. And he's like, get out of here. And he swings a broom at them. And he's like, you don't care about me. Go away. Get out of my sight. And he goes down to the basement. Go ahead, Vince.
This guy would not have been out of place in an Amazing Spider-Man issue number 13.
Not at all. He looks straight out of there. He goes down to the basement where he has a collection of like dragon figurines and weird antiques that
Funkos.
He stores at the school for some reason. And Funkos? Yeah, they're his Funkos.
Because this is 1960s logic to a fucking T. Yeah, he keeps all of his toys at his school.
Yeah. What is it? Okay, I want to read this. He says, I would have quit years ago if I didn't need the money to keep my collection current. Some of these pieces are real expensive, like the medallion, a one-of-a-kind piece of metal, blah, blah, blah. The dealer even tried to convince me it possessed certain mystical properties, but I knew that was just a con to up the price. All right.
They should have done second person. You are the janitor.
Oh, my God.
You've wasted your money.
He fucking hates these kids so much.
Hates them.
All right. He fucking hates them.
So then the Daily Bugle has gotten word that there's this new Spider-Girl everywhere. And whoever the boss is over here is
Looks like Robbie.
Yeah.
They're in
like,
shadow though, so it's
Robbie's
is
in
it gonna
shadow.
be a reveal of that it's
Robbie in the shadows.
Yeah. But who is like the chief? Do we know? Is that Robbie? I don't think it is. Oh no, he is the chief.
Yeah, the guy in the shadows that looks like Robbie Robertson. But I mean, it might be his son.
But they do say something about like, oh, he's got a real itch for anything spider related. This, this newspaper has a very deep history with Spider-Man that ended tragically. So I wonder what happened with J. Jonah Jameson. I'm sure we'll find out eventually. Then we get another scene with Phil and May at a hot dog stand. Is anything important here? Yeah, this is where he says, like, I'm not at liberty to discuss everything your father's told me. And he's like, oh, your dad's busy. He's not here. He doesn't know that we're talking. He's busy meeting with John Storm. He's not Johnny Storm anymore. He's just John Storm, the leader of the Fantastic Five. I like this scene a lot with Peter and Johnny. I keep saying Johnny and John hanging out at a diner. Lots of people hang out at diners in this future. And
yeah, this is the 90s where the diner made a huge comeback.
Yes.
Starbucks doesn't exist yet. It hasn't made its way to New York City.
Nope, there's no Starbucks there. But I love this scene where Johnny is just like, oh, you must be so proud to have a superhero daughter now. I can't wait till our kid, gets to put on a thing. Or, I remember when Franklin officially joined, that kind of stuff. But you and MJ seem to be handling it well. And I enjoyed that quite a bit. Peter says basically nothing in this scene.
Yeah, more Pat O'Leaf saving a page because he draws Peter once and just put it in the rest of the
But I think it's also like beautiful writing because Peter came in hot with this scene and he's not allowed to say anything because Johnny just keeps talking over him and it's completely like Peter's too polite to contradict his friend.
Yeah,
like it's really fucking good writing. Like Peter without saying a word and repeating the same fucking panel 4 times. It's still like can't say what he wants to say because he doesn't want to upset his friend. It's so good. Mm-hmm. It's really. I wrote this down as like writing tips for myself in my little manual. Yeah. I'm like, this is really good.
Yeah, well, they say it gets harder once you're 40, to keep it adult male friendships. So Peter doesn't want to risk these with Johnny Storm.
And then immediately on the next page, May is like, "Fuck." He's meeting with Johnny Storm, which would have been the fucking coolest thing like a week ago. And now it's the worst thing in the world. I'm so fucked. Yep. It's such good writing again. I'm like, I'm like, that's really, I like that. Like, thing that you would love the most is now like the worst thing in the world. I love that trope. It's so cool.
So next scene is back at school. We've got, everyone's having lunch here. Everyone's there. Even Davida. Davita's back. Hooray. Welcome back, Davida. We have Jimmy and Moose are still arguing. Moose like bumps into Jimmy and makes him fall over, and he drops his lunch. And I guess the glasses that everyone drinks their beverages out of has spilled on the floor and broken into pieces.
We have glass in this fucking
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It is a fancy school. That's how you know. And some teacher like breaks it up, and
looks like Bill Nye, science guy.
Yes, it does look like Bill Nye. Then Mr. Hackmutter comes in, miserable punks. I got to clean up this glass after them. And he cuts himself and he runs off,
runs in a full sprint.
I do love that May's like, oh, Mr. whatever Mutter, Hackmutter. And Davida's like, you know his name?
Yeah. And he runs back to the basement to get his Band-Aids. And in the process of putting this Band-Aid on, he spills some blood on this golden ambulance that has magic powers. And he glows and he turns into a big orange monster-looking thing.
His magic Funko Pop.
Oh my god, he does
I'm going to murder all these kids now. I'm so excited. He goes, it's wonderful. Full page spread.
He's busting through floors going up to the cafeteria. Yeah, it's some good shit.
I do love it. It's in a couple of pages, but when he's like, oh, I always loved, like superheroes like Conan and whatever else and Captain America, but now I'm just going to be a monster. And she's like, well, you could be a hero. You have superpowers. He's like, no.
This fucking guy.
It's like that meme of like the Spider-Man talking to the pterodactyl guy. He goes, with all the science, like you could turn people into anything. You could cure cancer. Like, yeah, but I don't want to cure cancer. I want to turn people into dinosaurs. That's what I want to do, man.
And he's like, I wanted to be a hero, but now I'm just gonna be a jerk.
Yep. But Spider-Girl swings in, of course, to save the day, and
blow her goddamn cover.
Does she use any science?
No, I think she just she doesn't like.
She uses electricity.
Okay, good job. Good work, May. And takes this guy down. He gets put on some giant stretcher. It gets carried away by the authorities. Okay.
I do like that her big plan is just to go to his lair or whatever and just pick up his like collectibles, and he's like, no,
my stuff.
Put my stuff down.
It's good. That would work on me. And yeah, she heads home, and they heard everything that happened in school, and they heard Spider-Girl was there, and she's like, well, I had to act. I had to use my power for my responsibility to save my friends and not hurt them. So where do we go from here? And it seems like Peter might be starting to turn around. But beginning of issue 5, nope, not turn around. Still more of the same. Like, it's not going to be Spider-Girl. Oh yeah, Venom is on this cover. Venom is back. Guess who becomes his host? It says on the cover. You want to guess?
J. Jonah Jameson.
Ooh,
that's a good guess. We'll see what
happens.
Flash
Thompson.
Ooh, that
happens in the future.
But not this future.
Not this future.
Yeah.
So we I accidentally went past my notes to Earth X. We're not there yet. Spider-Girl. All right. Peter's still saying no way. There's no high school in this issue, and I think this issue was very one note. It made it feel a little bit shorter for me. But
yeah, this feels very much like a sequel to issue 0, where it's basically just like an old friend of Peter's is back in town.
Yes,
it
exactly.
Also was
and
like
very
poorly
quick.
scanned on Marvel Unlimited. I don't know what happened here, but they did not give a shit about the scanning here.
This issue is a weird one where I was like, oh, Venom, that seems like kind of a big deal issue, but it's like weirdly just a very abrupt one and done.
Yeah.
Where Peter is walking home. Oh, Peter. What is it? Where's Peter headed? He's like going after MJ or something, trying to like meet her.
Yeah, he's gonna go to the basketball practice, which he skipped out on.
Yes. And he's barreling out of there with his cane. There's something about his posture in that scene where he's walking out the door, where he looks like he's moving really well for a guy with a fake leg there.
So I read this on Unlimited, and I don't know what happened here because this page is in title case, or not in title case. It's in all caps compared to the rest of the issue with the letters. And it like just looks different. I don't know what happened here.
I think they're all in all caps from my version.
Oh really? Maybe they changed it then, because like mine is like it's just the one page is all the lettering is all caps, and then the next page again with May is like back to like title case.
Interesting.
And it has like a gradient for her, like you are May Parker. It has like a weird that's almost like it's digitally colored, which seems early for '98, but.
Well, who knows?
I don't know. But either way,
anyways,
he books it out of there, and then May's
books it out of there, and then Venom swoops in, and we're like, oh my God, Peter is getting consumed in some sort of shadow. Oh no, I wonder what it could be.
Yeah, there's a scene where some guard is like, hey, stupid symbiote who's just been pounding on this glass for years. Look at this. There's a new spider person.
Again, very convenient that today, the second that happened.
Oh, there is. Yes. And then it breaks out. Yes. Sorry, I missed that scene. I missed putting in any notes about that scene.
Yeah, but it is just funny because it's like that's the coincidence of like that's what I guess makes it break out, is it wants to deal with
like, oh, there's more spider people.
Oh well, fuck! I thought Spider-Man was gone. I'm sorry. I did not realize. Okay, well now I've got to start some shit.
So May runs into this Green Goblin character, and they have
Green Goblin Venom character.
Did I say Green Goblin?
Yeah, you did.
Well, same thing. May runs into this Venom character who has taken over Daddy, and kind of Venom is like, oh, you're gonna fucking die, blah blah blah. Daddy knows best, and reveals the face, and May is shocked. And so she goes. Oh, that's right. It's Spider Venom is what he's calling himself. Spider Venom knocks out May and then goes bounding away. I don't know what your plan was. You knocked out May and then you just left her there. I guess she's going after MJ, maybe. I don't know. Venom, you don't have a good plan here. So May talks to MJ for a little bit and is like, I have to go. You go contact the Fantastic Five, Mom. I'm gonna go do other stuff.
I do like though that this is Miles Morales when he first started does a lot of the same things. Like, I'm a new character. I don't know everything else that the audience knows or may not know about these villains. Mom, please give me the 2-panel explanation of who this is. Give me the exposition. Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'd like to know their weaknesses as well.
Yeah, it is funny. Yeah, it's not. I don't think they're directly lifting like old images from stories or anything. But yeah, it's just like, yeah, we all know who Venom is. You can just skip over these pages.
But
he's vulnerable to high frequency sounds. That's what's important.
Yeah, but she literally say and then go, Mom, give me I need you to tell me everything you know about Venom.
I need major backstory and fast, is what she said.
Do you have a scrapbook of Venom stuff?
Just give me the issues.
Yeah. Just give me the issues of Spider-Man where Venom appears.
Mm-hmm. And MJ's like, well, MJ sees May suit up, and she's like, what makes you think I'm going to let you go out there? And she's like, I'm going to be Dad's only hope. Not the only hope, because we were just going to call the Fantastic Five, but I see what you're going at.
Yeah, the best hope.
So she goes to Phil Urich and unmasks in front of him and says, hey, you used to be the Green Goblin. You had like a sonic superpower, right? And he goes, yeah, I called it my lunatic laugh. And she's like, really? That's what you called it? And he enlists his help to come stop Venom. So she goes to fight him again for a little bit, and Phil Urich shows up with his lunatic laugh, and it's kind of getting at Venom. So Venom throws a car at Phil and kills him, apparently. I don't know how he survived this, but he did survive.
Yeah, that he's killed.
Yep. But May's like, oh my God, you killed him. She's punching at Venom, gives him a few really good punches. And then Phil is alive and he's there. And his glasses are a little bit broken, but he's okay. And he gives a big old lunatic laugh, and the Venom suit kind of melts off of Peter. And we don't actually see what happens to the Venom suit here at the end.
It's on the ground somewhere.
In like a warehouse or something, right?
But like everyone hugs and they're like, "Hey, hooray! We've taken down the evil." But I don't know how they contained it. Also, they had contained it before, but it busted out of this same place. So maybe do something different. I don't know.
Maybe expose it to free. Put it in like a cart it around to like a big concert show every year.
Oh yeah, I would just put it like in a room with like binaural beats or ASMR or something until.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah, something that really keeps it from getting to full power anymore.
Yeah. Ooh, do you think the Venom suit like responds to like the dog whistles that nobody else can hear, like that kind of high frequency?
Probably.
So then nobody else is bothered, but then so you can hang out in your office.
I can hear them.
But is that a form of torture? Are we torturing this alien, Vince? Think about it. We don't want to do that.
Does the Geneva Convention cover aliens?
Hold on.
Aliens.
This is Ask a Lawyer segment. Does the Geneva... Can we commit human rights violations against non-humans?
I don't know. That's a good question. It can't be illegal to play music for an alien. No way.
Torture music. I feel like you can't play torture music. You can't play Freak on a Leash to torture victims.
All right.
Venom is the corn of the Marvel Universe, I think. I think that's accurate.
Yeah, because everybody definitely forgot about him. Like, that was a thing that we loved in the 90s, and we're just like...
those movies made a lot of money.
They really did. They're making a third one. Good for them.
Hey.
So they haven't been forgotten by everyone.
All right. So after all this, Phil and Peter have a very serious conversation about May that they both read the entirely wrong way because they're being way too vague about it. Where basically Peter thinks that he's telling Phil, like, we got to stop encouraging May because this is creating a lot of problems. But Phil is reading it as, oh, you want me to secretly train May so that she does a good job. Got it.
But like on the down low, so Mary Jane doesn't know about it.
Right. And then Peter and Phil both go their separate ways, and Peter is telling MJ like, "Yep, hey, we're on the same page," and Phil's telling May like, "Yep, we're gonna train you. Your dad's cool with it." Like, all right, cool.
So yeah, I read that again and like several times. I'm like, Peter is telling him that, but is there a world where Peter is wanting May to be trained on the down low, but Mary Jane is like the Aunt May, like we don't want to break her heart and have her have a heart attack and find out, so we got to keep it a secret from your mom. Is there any world where that's true? I guess we'll find out next issue.
Yeah,
find out. Maybe they get there.
If anything, you'd think Mary Jane would be more like, "Hey, you can do this. I don't like it, but that's okay."
See, that's definitely like the mom, like teenage daughter dynamic. Like they definitely like keep shit hidden from dads.
Yeah.
Like that's the dynamic, right? Like it's like we're not telling your father. Yeah. Be safe. Don't tell your father.
Vince, are you scared of the future? Is that what
I know this is the future. Kimberly's like planning like you do understand these are gonna. I was a wild child in my teenage years. You're gonna have a wild child teenage girl. Fucking get ready. And I'm like, okay, all right.
Did you guys notice? There's one very I don't know how subtle it was, but there was one reference to that time of the month in his Spider-Man book, and I was like, that's pretty funny.
I missed it. I
love it. Yeah.
It's such a good.
Whenever May is just like down about like basketball or whatever, Davida's like, are you like just feeling blah because of it, whatever.
That is good.
Because you're on your period.
But that's it for what we read of Spider-Girl. Honestly, this last issue I was pretty down on, but everything else, even though we were poking fun at some of the weirdness and the inconsistencies or whatever, it's really good. It's really, really good.
It's a good, silly comic. Like it's, I mean, not like silly, like a haha funny comic, but it is like, it's a lot of done in one issues. I think there's like, it's built a good cast. I think the Mary Jane Peter cast is really good. I think having the guy in the chair with Phil is a really good subcast. I don't like the high school cast. I don't like that. I cut that shit out. Boring.
Yeah, sorry. They're still there.
I know. But like she's got a fun villain every time. He's got ties to the old universe. Like how is Kingpin still figuring into this? Like I like a lot of this. I think that this is built well, and this is the style of like 90s comics that's like I like, because every now and then I try to go back and read the Clone Saga. I'm like, ugh, this is like a lot of 4-parters. I don't want to read all this shit with like dumb villains. And then this is like dumb villains, but like done in ones. I'm very happy with it. It goes for like 100 issues, right?
Yeah. Something like that, yeah. And I appreciate that it is like, and it is the like more Bronze or Silver Age style of like, yeah, the issues 1 and 2 introduced Mr. Nobody and what's his name, Crazy 8, right? And they come back. It's just like it takes a little while. They're not every issue is like, oh, we have like 5 issues of this one guy.
Yeah.
Like you will see this character again. Like the way issue 1 ended with Mr. Nobody made it very obvious that you're going to see him again. But like he doesn't show up for the rest of the arc, and I kind of appreciate that, because if you don't like that guy, you can just be like, I don't care about that.
Yeah, he'll cycle it out.
Yeah, versus like, all right, well, get ready, because the next like year of storytelling is about this one villain.
Yeah, like so if you don't like Dr. Doom, you're like, ugh, a lot of Dr. Doom coming up.
Yeah, if you don't like the Hood, get ready, because you're going to see a lot of the Hood.
The one last thing I kind of want to just say about it is I really like the covers, even though they're not like anything special, but we haven't read a lot of stuff from this late 90s era of Marvel, I think, that had just this very distinct comic cover layout. And just seeing that layout again with these issues, I was like, oh, that like I have a lot of nostalgia for like going to the drugstore and picking up comics just off the rack that kind of kind of looked like this. I liked browsing through these comics. So I enjoyed reading that.
And I Vince, have you already gone? Is it my turn?
We're all talking. Who knows?
But yeah, I talked about this a little bit before, but this was a book that I'm glad to see that it holds up as well as it does, because I really liked it when it was coming out. And as somebody that had a younger sister, and she's like, oh, I want to read comics. There's so many comics in like 1999, 2000, where I'm like, I don't want to give you this. Like there's either one female character or 0 female characters, or the one female character is like absurdly sexualized, or I just really don't feel comfortable recommending it to you as a preteen girl.
Yeah.
And Spider-Girl was the one where I'm like, oh, this is fine. Like she's occasionally sexualized, but like not in a way that is gratuitous or like over the top. Like there's a couple of like changing scenes, but it's like it's not really anything more than you see with, you know, Peter Parker changing scenes, where like you see her in a bra like a couple of times. It's not like, you know, I never felt like, oh, they're really making this like teenager, you know, like sexualizing this character. It is just like, yeah, she is a, you know, an attractive person who's wearing a bodysuit. So occasionally villains notice that, which is gross. But it's like, yeah, they're villains, I guess. It's not.
But
again,
you identify more with May than like she's not, you know, like so that like
not,
being ogled is like this is
exactly.
experienced that.
You don't identify with May. You are May.
Exactly. You're right. Yeah. You are May Parker. But yeah, it's just I felt like that was such a rarity, you know, in the 90s. You know, you have characters like Psylocke where you're like, I can't show you this character and expect you to take them seriously. This is like a ninja who never wears clothes.
Yeah. But that's Spider-Girl. I really might keep reading some of this. I liked it a lot. It's one of the best ongoings I think that we've read for the show. And I'm really curious to know. I kind of even want to check out some of the other series from the MC2. As long as those aren't in second person. That's really the only
I don't think any of the others are. And they probably don't hold up, but I remember really liking the Avengers series. I don't remember really liking anything else from the but it's basically set up as like a year-long mystery sort of a story of like what happened to some of the Avengers, and then they still have like villain of the week type stories, but it's in service of like, where did all the other Avengers go?
Who wrote the Avengers one? Was that also Tom DeFalco?
I don't remember.
Who knows? Yeah, written by Tom DeFalco.
Yep. So there you go. And it's, I think, only 12 issues. It's like I said, I remember enjoying it. I doubt it holds up as well as I wish it did.
Sure.
But it's I remember it being a fun team book that had like one sort of story arc that was going there with, you know, the main. I don't know if he's really the leader, but Thunderstrike's son, also called Thunderstrike, is trying to figure out what happened.
I bet it holds up pretty good. I think alternate future stories in general always hold up pretty well. But with that said, I think it's time to jump to Earth X.
Yeah, it's good that it has an endpoint, just like.
Okay, Earth X time. All right, yeah. Anything else to say about Spider-Girl before we get to Earth X?
No, it's just really good. I'm glad we finally read it.
Yeah. Earth X time. So we're on issue 4 here. We still don't super know the plot, but the whole world has been changed in the future. Some vibranium explosion caused the genetic seed, or I don't know. X-51 and Uatu are talking at the beginning that everyone on Earth is going to die because the planet's going to explode from vibranium. Okay. And
we keep talking about this. I feel like we've spent about half our page count talking about this vibranium thing for the last couple issues.
Yep. I'm a little over.
X-51. This issue has a big reveal that I really don't like as far as design and the way the mutations work.
Black Panther becoming a panther?
Well, everyone in Wakanda becoming an animal.
Yeah. I think all the animals also became people.
I was more on board with.
Yeah.
I just don't. I just find like the idea of like African people turning into animals to be very not good optics.
I agree. The problematic angle. I just was like, I don't like humans turning into animals. I do like animals turning into people. I like that.
Yeah, I don't like that anyway, but when it's only happening in Africa, I'm like, why is this only happening in Africa?
So I don't think that's it. I really do think it's animals turned into humans. Black Panther only turned into a panther because that's his name. And as we've learned, people turn into their names. But Storm didn't turn into a Storm. Storm is still normal.
Storm is not. She's not Stormal.
Imagine if she was just like wearing her little tiara, but was just a cloud.
Like Big Brain from what we just read. But if she was like a little cloak with the tornado just in the side of it, yes.
Yeah. I actually like the tiara on her head.
John Pelion, get back on that, redo it, special edition. R.I.P. John Pelion. But man, I don't like that. I don't like Captain America having a fucking A like scratched in his face. I don't like that.
This is before the Ultimates too.
All right. Let's get there. Let's start at the beginning here. So we start with a history, like we always do for a couple big splash pages. This was the history of vibranium and Wakanda and Black Panther and all that.
I thought we read this last issue.
No, this is different.
This issue.
This issue. X-51 and Uatu were talking about how like the vibranium explosion wasn't Reed's fault. Like this was all going to happen anyways, something like that. And X-51's like, well, Reed's driving himself crazy over this. We should tell him. And Uatu's like, nah, we don't have to. Don't worry about him.
Do you not understand how this works? We don't interfere.
And then, yes, we see the Black Panther and Storm. Beast is there, too. He's like their advisor, I guess. He's basically the same, but he's all white fur now. It's hard to tell if he transformed or just got old.
Ooh, he just lost the pigment?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Could be.
I think Beast would dye his fur. He seems very vain to me.
It's possible.
Like Marge Simpson.
But then I'm like, where's he getting the blue dye from? And like, there's no just for beasts.
The same place Marge Simpson does.
Yeah. But they're talking about how Reed Richards can't see that there's no catastrophe. Everything is fine. Whatever. And X-51's like, oh my God, the animals have changed too. This is what made me think the animals have all become humans or like become sentient or something like that. But X-51 didn't know. And I'm like, well, haven't you just been watching the Planet Earth? Could you not see the animals? I don't know. It does give me an idea for like a Planet Earth show in the Marvel universe where Uatu is just kind of narrating what he's seeing on Earth. I feel like that would be okay. All the weird Marvel animal life, the Savage Land. This is a good idea. I don't care if y'all are not reacting to it. Reed Richards then is talking to the Inhumans about his theory about what happened and all that stuff. Luna is crying because she can't meet the prince like this. Like what? She doesn't really say what's wrong. Just leave me alone. Black Bolt is kind of giving Medusa the cold shoulder for some reason. We really don't know what's going on with the Inhumans. And right now, I don't care about them in this story. They're just looking for their other Inhumans, I guess. I still don't care.
It's been like 3 issues of this, too. Yeah. Like, they're really taking their time.
They really are.
Last issue, they were hinting about like a big secret they have from Reed. And then this issue, they're just kind of like, well, all right, well.
Yep. Reed realizes, hey, we can use Cerebro to find your other Inhumans. So they're going to do that. Meanwhile, Cap and Wyatt are seeing this new Red Skull kid. Seems like kind of a shit teen. He's like, you're Captain America, but you're bald. And Captain America just says, hey, let these people go. This is America. They got to be free. And he's like, I don't really want to. And he goes, let these people go. And this Red Skull brat says, oh, yeah, I know that movie with Moses and everything. Why has this kid seen the 10 Commandments? Why? This is in the future as well. So that movie's even older. This kid clearly was not interested in it.
Okay, well, this 10 Commandments was on all the fucking time.
Yeah, as you say,
TV,
they play it every Passover. They put it on TV.
I don't feel like I saw it past like 96 though. But
yeah, it's still on TV, I watched. Sure. I mean, yeah, you're not watching a lot.
It was like the Sunday night movie, maybe a 2-parter even.
This kid's
Sunday
not
and
watching
Monday is a long movie.
But then I started thinking, okay, maybe this kid is a big movie buff because he starts talking about how he's helping people. He helped that Iron Maiden character. She fell in a vat of silver acid, kind of like when Jack Nicholson became the Joker.
That was, and
he loves movies.
It wasn't MC2. It was,
yeah. Okay. It was this. I had big problems with this line. I don't like it. I think it's weird to mix the Why are there DC movies in the Marvel universe? That seems weird.
I hate to go back to Spider-Girl, but very quickly because there was when Moose tripped, what's his name?
Jimmy.
I already forget his name. Jimmy. He's just like, I got to deal with Obnoxio the clown over here. That's the mascot from Marvel's Crazy Comics. Yeah, their version of Mad.
Wow.
So that's, instead of the Joker, it's a reference to their Mad Magazine ripoff that is in the Marvel Universe. So
wow.
That one makes sense. This one, yeah, it's just the DC movies exist in Earth X.
But then I'm like, all right, this kid is maybe just well cultured. He's really looked into a lot of like just old historical movies. He likes Batman. He's seen the Ten Commandments, didn't like it. Like, okay, maybe that's it. I get evidence to the contrary later. We'll get to that.
Yeah, I do. Hey, did you notice the throne that he's in?
What is the throne that he's in? Let's see. I didn't notice. What is it? You can tell us while I find it.
Did you notice what he's?
Oh yes, I did. It was our good friend MODOK. I forgot.
It's MODOK.
It is
MODOK's
MODOK.
basically little operating. His big head, empty head.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a good fucking design. Like for all the stuff, for a book replete with shitty designs, like Captain America bald with an A scratched in his head wearing an American flag. The design of like the clean cut little Nazi boy dressed very nice, a little blonde, red skull in a MODOK throne is fucking awesome.
It's cool. It's
cool. Really good.
That's Jack Kirby ass stuff.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good ass design. I like it.
We didn't mention there's a few characters on the cover here, one of which we haven't seen, who looks like Spider-Man in like a hood. And we meet him in this scene here for a very brief moment. Captain America puts his hand on the Red Skull kid, and this Spider-Man looking character shows up, and he kind of waves his hands, and Cap sees webs, and then he sees himself choking Bucky out, and Bucky's like, Cap, what are you doing? And Cap like snaps out of it, and they're like, this guy has some kind of like, fear, mind altering power or something like that. Who knows what he is? We don't know who he is. We don't learn anything else about him. That's all we see of him. I wanted to learn more about the Spider character. But Cap snaps out of it. Then Wyatt starts attacking him because he can't control his body. And they're like using their mind control powers to make Wyatt attack Cap. And Skull kind of mentions, hey, it's kind of funny if I control everyone in the world except Captain America, and he's just kind of stuck seeing everyone else controlled around him. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, I like that.
It is.
I agree. It is funny.
And then Captain America tells him, you're another Hitler. And he says, who? Which I'm like, come on, man. You've seen the Ten Commandments and you've seen Batman. I refuse to believe you haven't heard of Hitler. Come on.
I feel like he's just messing with him.
He might be. But still,
he thinks that he's a boomer, and he's actually even silent generation because he's so damn old. But he's like, this is gonna be funny. I'm gonna pretend I don't know this thing, and he's gonna get so mad that I don't know who Hitler is.
So everyone's attacking Cap. He has to retreat. Then we jump to NYC. Hydra is chasing some winged woman, and the Hulk shows up. And they don't go into detail, but this is the Hulk and like a child Bruce Banner, who are like a companion team thing. Bruce Banner is riding around on Hulk like he's a giant ape.
Yeah, and Hulk is like 20 feet tall.
Yes. It's interesting, and I want to know more about it. But they knock the Hydra away, and they're like, "Is that Betty?" Oh, and she's running away.
She looks like a tiefling from Dungeons and Dragons. She doesn't want to talk.
And they're like, "Okay, well, let's go to Strange's place," and they head to the Sanctum. What's that called? Sanctorum, whatever. And Wong is there, and Clea is the Sorcerer Supreme now. Dun dun dun. It's not really a great cliffhanger. You could have put that like mid book, I think. But yeah, that's the issue. A lot more. Nothing. There is some important stuff in the post-text stuff where X-51 and Uatu continue their conversation, and they're like, "Why was Betty so afraid of that kid? Is it because there aren't any kids?" And Uatu's like, "Take a look. You see any signs of birth?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Yeah." So like everyone's sterile in this future, which seems like a big bomb to drop in this appendix section.
Baby Diego out here.
Yeah. But I don't know. I didn't read much of any other interest in this. I kind of skimmed through it again. Boy, it really would be nice to get some sort of actual plot in this book. I was thinking about it. I was like, that Hulk design is cool. There's some cool details in this, and that's a lot of what I remember from this book. But you don't remember that they just like drip feed them little by little and don't get to anything. My goodness.
Yeah, and I'm not saying a book needs to be like. I mean, Spider-Girl has good action, but like this book has had like negative action. I know Captain America sort of fought, but it's like not really. Nothing happened.
No, it was. Well, yeah. I'm joking, but I'm not joking. I think we already knew that Reed created the whole the vibranium explosion. That's fucking recapping. That should be in the text fields. We should be learning.
Yeah, there was. They. I think in this text as well at the end, they're like, so it was the Iron Maiden falling into that vibranium that caused all the vibranium to explode. Then, isn't it? And Uatu's like, yeah. And like, I don't know. It seems weird that so much of this stuff is just afterwards in this appendix section. I don't know. Oh wait, no, that wasn't in the appendix. That was in the real stuff. You know, who cares? It's all here. It's fine. It's still interesting to me. Like I'm still finding little bits of like, okay. And there's alternate future stories are always just like, you know, let's see what they come up with. But man, this has been a little bit of a slog. Anything else to say about it? I don't want to be too negative and keep being negative. Can you all be negative?
I like the skull stuff. Yeah. I thought that was kind of the coolest stuff we've had in a while. Like to not since the Thing's Children have we had anything that I was like, oh, this is good.
Yep.
So it's you know there's still some bright spots, but yeah, overall this is going way too slowly.
Yep.
Yeah. What about a spinoff with just the Red Skull and the Thing's kids? He adopts
just kids. Yeah.
We don't need little Nazi Hulks. I don't like the idea of that. Or Nazi
but they're
things,
not
Nazi
buying
things.
it. Nazi
they're not going to buy it because they don't like their dad.
Hey, what do you call it when you can't see things? It's Nazi things. That's our joke for the issue.
Causing a real furor over that joke.
Oh my god! All right, so we're done with this. Next time we are reading Earth X number 5. How many issues is this? 12? No, 13 because there's an X issue plus 0, really 14.
Fuck me.
Well, it's okay. The X issue is the best one because it's called X. Oh, it's a long shit. Earth X. It is. It's Earth X and number X. That's what it is. It's 45 issues, 45 pages. God damn it. Maybe we'll stop after 12. But next time we're on to Earth X number 5. And then for our main read, we're doing a kind of why did we choose this? It just sounded cool. It's Emperor Doom from 1987. It's one of those Marvel original graphic novels.
Yeah, I was reading Daredevil and they mentioned Emperor Doom and I'm like, oh yeah, I heard that was good. So
yeah,
that's why it was.
I don't know anything about it, but it's by David Michelini and art by Bob Hall. We're gonna check it out. We're gonna see what it's all about.
Dr. Doom gets Purple Man's powers. He's Doom be stealing. It's our Thanksgiving episode. Purple Man's been given his powers to Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom says thanks.
Great. I don't know if Dr. Doom ever does say thanks, unless it's like a sarcastic thank you. You know, thank
he
you
doesn't
for
say
your
thanks,
contribution to the
he's
cause.
Not too formal. He'll say thank you.
It's always thank you.
He'll never be that informal.
Yeah. But that's coming up next time. Emperor Doom and Earth X number 5. We read it. So you have to. What else is going on, Chris? What's going on with the Your Stupid Minds podcast?
Your Stupid Minds. What did we just cover? We just did horror 2 episodes. We did most recently we did Amityville 2: The Possession, sequel to the late 70s Exorcist ripoff, the Amityville Horror, and then we also did The Exorcist 2: The Heretic, which is, I guess, it's a direct sequel to The Exorcist, but there's less exorcisms in that one than there was in Amityville 2.
I just finished that episode, by the way, yesterday. It was really good. The Exorcist 2.
Which one?
The Exorcist 2 one? Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's fun to talk about a movie like that is bad, but not, I didn't think it was incredibly bad. I thought it was interestingly bad.
Yeah, y'all have been on a good string of, like, sequels to movies I know, but I never saw the sequels. I just know, like, the posters. So, like, y'all did the Return to Oz also, the, like, 80s.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah. I think Chris and Nick liked it well enough. Like, there's interesting shit in it. So I think, like, I don't have the brain power to sit down and watch a movie. all the time. But, like Return to Oz, like y'all covered that really well to like give the good imagery. Same with Exorcist 2. So it's a good show. Your Stupid
Good
Minds.
work.
Fun fact. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. We're not just negative about the movies. If you are like, hey, I like that movie, it's like, no, we like a lot of the movies we cover. And even the ones we don't like, we're at least like, oh, that was interesting. Like, I think we liked Amityville 2: The Possession a fair amount because it really goes for being really messed up. Like, it is. Oof.
Sure,
You feel uncomfortable.
I feel uncomfortable. Vince, what's going on with you? You just listening to Your Stupid Minds?
I'm just listening to Your Stupid Minds and playing Yakuza. Sometimes at the same time. It's a good time.
Nice. What am I doing? Playing some Brotato. I like that game. I'm playing some board games. Buying some Keyforge. Y'all heard Keyforge? It's the Magic the Gathering guy, Richard Garfield, except they don't sell booster packs. They just sell decks, and every single deck is unique with its own name and its own picture and its own card makeup, and you're not supposed to change them. You just buy a deck and play with it. That's weird. The logistics of that I find mind-boggling.
Cool. What's it called again?
Anyways, Keyforge.
Okay, cool.
I don't know nothing about it. There was a starter set for $10, and I was like, let's see what it's all about. I haven't played it yet, but that's what I'm thinking about. Weird logistics in trading card game distribution. Check out my other podcast. Some of my friends like trading card game distribution. But I think that's it. I'm all out of jokes. Thanks so much for listening. No, that's afterwards. Vince, I love you.
Love you too, bud.
Chris, I love you.
You're a Kia, and you love you.
Oh, that's true. That's maybe the nicest send-off you have given me, Chris. Thank you. Listener, we love you as well. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.